Hi, I'm Stephanie, and welcome to this edition of The Pipeline, where we are refining the news that's important to you. West Virginia's coal built America, and it fired its steel mills, lit its homes, and provided the cheap energy to create the wealthiest nation in the world. But West Virginia's coal has failed West Virginians. The state remains among the poorest in the U.S., with a median household income of just under $40,000. That's $13,000 less than the national median, more than $20,000 less than that of Virginia, and more than $30,000 less than the neighboring Maryland. But now, after failing to capitalize on its first fossil fuel boom, West Virginia is getting a second chance to turn resource riches into lasting wealth. Natural gas development is exploding there. Through newly available fracking technologies, the state produced nearly 400,000 million cubic feet of gas in 2011. That's an increase of over 50% over 2010, and more than twice what the state was producing a decade ago. Jeff Kessler, the president of the state senate, is pushing a plan to set aside a full quarter of the natural gas severance tax revenue into a future fund, which is money that would sit and collect interest while being off limits to current spending. Kessler envisions the fund's revenues being spent on infrastructure, education, and other programs intended to make the state more competitive. Kessler is modeling his effort on a plan recently put in place by North Dakota, which is undergoing an energy boom of its own thanks to the shale oil development in the Bakken oil field. North Dakota has already stored away $1.3 billion into their fund, which will be off limits through 2017.
After the Arab oil embargo of 1973, America's energy dependence became the most obvious flaw in superpower status. Now, thanks largely to the shale revolution, domestic U.S. oil production is pushing imports to a 25-year low, holding down global prices despite Asian demand and Middle East, North Africa supply disruptions. While the U.S. seems set to displace Saudi Arabia as the largest oil producer by 2020, our natural gas production has lifted our geopolitical gravitas. The U.S., as now the world's largest natural gas producer, is poised to take a growing profile as the gas exporter. Political attention focuses on the rebalancing of America's strategic attention back to Asia, but the strategic link to liquefied natural gas exports needs more notice. More natural gas means a huge commitment. The Japanese, for example, might pay as much as $72.1 billion this year for imported LNG. So it's no wonder that Asian and Australian countries are following the U.S. natural gas export licensing policy very closely. The Obama administration has given the green light to 4 LNG export terminals aimed at countries lacking free trade agreements with the U.S. Some American petrochemical manufacturers fear LNG exports will punch up U.S. natural gas prices, hurting a resurgent manufacturing sector that this fuel and feedstock supply has greatly helped. The fears seem misplaced, though. For example, the number of natural gas drilling rigs has fallen by 60% since peaking in late 2011, but gas production continues to rise. It's not a zero-sum game. The geological evidence shows sufficient gas to meet domestic needs while supplying Asian and other foreign buyers and gaining a geopolitical premium in the bargain.
A lot has changed since the commissioning of India's first oil refinery in the Assamese city of Digboi in 1901. Extraordinarily, the Digboi refinery is still refining products at the rate of 13,000 barrels per day, 111 years after it first opened, making it the oldest working refinery in the world. Before Digboi celebrates its 112th birthday, the world will see India emerging as Asia's largest refined product exporter, surpassing former top dog Singapore. This is the culmination of a decade-long metamorphosis in which public and private sector companies have helped transform the country from a net importer of petroleum products to a net exporter. Behind India's recent rise in the oil refining league table is the creation of the world's largest and most complex super refinery. The Jamnagar refinery was commissioned in July 1999 and went online with a total processing capacity of 668,000 barrels per day. According to the IEA, during India's 11th five-year plan, public sector oil marketing companies will have added more than 600,000 barrels per day in greenfield refining capacity and close to 300,000 barrels per day in brownfield capacity. Demand for petroleum-derived products is expected to grow by 16.7% over the next 5 years, whereas the refining capacity of facilities across India is expected to grow by 22.2% over the same period. This leaves the Asian nation with a large surfeit of both capacity and product to sell onto the global markets. That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching, and remember, we're drilling only for the relevant news and bringing it to you through the pipeline.